Good morning to all the students. Today, I would like you all to take out the graph paper, ruler, calculator, and draw the frequency polygon. So, you will be given the data in the table. Okay, the table shows the marks obtained by 40 students in a science test. So here you can see marks for 40 students. Now, based on the marks in the table, you have to draw the frequency table, and after that, after you complete the frequency table, you need to find the mean marks based on the frequency table. So first of all, I would like you all to copy down the data for the 40 students and also copy down the table. So let's get ready with the class interval. We will start from lower class 35 to 39, and the midpoint is 35 plus 39 divided by 2. Alright, and then from the frequency table, you need to make sure all the class interval are having the difference of size class of 5, and you need to calculate the frequency for the marks lies between the class interval. So you have to complete the table. So example 35 to 39. So I need to find the midpoint. In order to find the midpoint, I must take 35 plus 39 divided by 2. And then 39 to 40 is actually plus 1. 40 to 44 is plus 5. So that means we are going to plus 5 for every midpoint of due to the size class is 5. Okay, so 35 to 39 actually consists of 5 data: 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. So the midpoint is 35 plus 39 divided by 2. Alright, same thing for the midpoint. 40 plus 44 divided by 2, you get 42. So you can say that you take 40 plus 2 for every midpoint. You take the lower limit plus 2. 45 will be 47. 50 will be 52. 55 will be 57. And then 60 will be 62. And 65 will be 67. So please complete all the midpoint by finding, either you can take lower limit plus upper limit divided by 2, or you can just plus 2 for every lower limit to get the midpoint. You can always use a shortcut to get the answer, so long as you can do fast. So for the frequency, you need to go to the table, and then maybe you need to do the tally and find the frequency for the marks between 35 to 39. Frequency means number of the students. Okay, so if you really complete the table, you must make sure the total number of students is actually equal to total number of frequency. Alright, so always double check the midpoint. 37 is the first midpoint. Then for the next one, we can actually just plus 5 for the successive midpoint. 37 plus 5, you get 42. 42 plus 5, you get 47. 47 plus 5, you get 52. so on and so forth. The most important is you must start with the right class interval, and then you must find the midpoint for every of the class interval. Now we are going to plot the histogram later based on this table. So while waiting for you to get ready your graph paper, okay, your ruler, for the frequency polygon, we need a straight line to connect the 2 points. So it is a must to have a ruler with you. Okay, so in order to draw a beautiful frequency polygon, we must always make sure we will start with the one class interval with a 0 frequency, and the last class in the we will end with the 0 frequency. So let's see how to draw the frequency polygon on the graph paper. So before we draw, I actually want you to double check everything first. You mean midpoint, frequency, especially these two are very important. Okay, make sure you double check. 45 plus 49 divided by 2, you will get 47. 50 plus 54 divided by 2, you will get 52. And then make sure the frequency is tally. That means when you add up all the frequency, you should get 40 students. So let me check. We have 11 plus 10, 21. 21 we can plus the 6, so we have 27. 27 plus 7, 34. 34 plus 4, we have 38. 38 plus 2, we have 40. So it shows that the frequency table, this is called frequency table. Okay, now you need to copy this frequency table into your exercise book. You must label class interval, midpoint, frequency, and you also must make sure you double check every of the class interval and also the midpoint so that the data is accurate before we draw the frequency polygon. Okay, so we can double check using the calculator, or you can use a manual calculation, no problem, so long as you can do fast and accurate. So okay, let's double check again before we proceed to drawing the frequency polygon. Okay, let's proceed to the drawing of the graph. Now before we draw the frequency polygon, normally they will ask you to calculate the mean mark of the students. So according to the statistic, if we want to find a mean for the data in arranging in a group, a certain class interval, so we actually have to take the midpoint times with the frequency 1 by 1. Okay, 37 times 2 plus the 42 times with the frequency, and so on and so forth, and over the total frequency. So make sure the midpoint and the frequency is precise, is accurate. Alright, always double check your frequency and the midpoint. We are going to multiply 1 by 1, 37 times 2 plus 42 times 9 plus, okay, 42 times 9, right? And then we will plus with the 47 times with the 10 for the class interval 45 to 49. And then we will take the next one, which is 47 times 10, and also 52 times 6, and also 57 times 7, and the midpoint is for the next class interval is 62, and times with the 4, and finally is 57 times 2. So we always double check carefully. 52 times 6, 57 times 7, and then 62 times 4, and plus all the way 67 times 2. And then we have to divide by total frequency. You should know that total frequency is actually equivalent to the 40 students in a science test. So when you add up, you must double check the total frequency is actually 40. So in this case, if we are completed the table with a class interval, with a midpoint, with a frequency, then we can start to draw the frequency polygon, which is actually using the straight line to show the data by using a straight line connecting all the midpoints. Now let's proceed to drawing the frequency polygons. Before that, let's complete the mean that we calculate. So the mean, we must use a calculator carefully. We multiply one by one, and then we plus, and we divide by total frequency in order to get the mean. All right. So the mean is actually equivalent to, let's press your calculator 2 times so that your answer will be perfect. So if you really press one by one, 37 times 2 plus 42 times 9 plus 52 times 6 plus 57 times 7 plus 62 times 4 plus 67 times 2, you will get a total is 20,015, and you need to divide by the total number of students, right? So the mean is 2015 divided by 40 for the final answer using the frequency table to find the mean. So the mean is 50.375. Now let's proceed to the next part of the question, whereby we are asking to draw the frequency table. Normally in SPM exam, all the skill will be given. So you need to follow exactly the skill of the graph given by the question. Now let's proceed to the drawing of the frequency polygon. One thing very interesting about frequency polygon is you must always start with the class interval with 0 frequency. This is a very important step, that the frequency polygon always start with a 0 and ending with a 0. Alright, so let's take out your graph paper and let's try to draw the frequency polygon for the data using the scale of 2 cm to 5 marks on horizontal axis and 2 cm to 2 students. Okay, that you can actually use the graph paper right now to prepare the vertical axis and the horizontal axis. Follow the scale given 2 cm to 5 unit on the horizontal axis and 2 cm to 2 students on the vertical axis. So let's get started with the graph of the frequency polygon right now. Alright, so basically when you label your graph paper, you must really make sure it is uniform scale. Okay, the unit must be written down so that the person who check your graph, they can actually trace the variable that you use. So now let's proceed to the drawing of the graph right now. So normally when we draw the frequency polygon, we always label the axis vertically as frequency, and horizontally will be the midpoint of the data. So now we are going to plot one by one. For the y-axis, we can start with the 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. But for the horizontal axis, you look at the scale given 2 centimeter to 5 marks. Okay, on the horizontal axis. So we are going to start with the 37 is the first midpoint. But then because 37 is having frequency 2, so that means we need to find a class interval whereby it will give you the frequency either negative or 0 is okay. So let's try to work it out. Or the midpoint, we start with the first point. Midpoint is 37, okay, and the frequency is 2. So for frequency polygon, please do not use the cumulative frequency. It's nothing to do with cumulative frequency, but it's something to do with the something that you need to know is before 35 to 39 we have one class interval. So you have to add on to the table, and then you have to find a midpoint, and then the frequency of course will be 0 for the starting and the ending. The frequency polygon will have 0 frequency. Okay, so now we are going to plot the midpoint one by one. Okay, before that I actually want you to double check the frequency is labeled on the y-axis, and on the horizontal axis it representing the marks, right? Okay, now let's see how to sketch, how to draw the graph for the this topic, which is actually so-called as statistic. Okay, I'm waiting for you to present your graph to me later. So each one of you will have to go to the teams, and then you need to present your graph, how you find your frequency polygon to me, and you have to explain what are the data that can you interpret from the graph that you are going to draw. All right, now let's do it together. You take out your graph paper. So I'm waiting for you to label your frequency, start from 0 to 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and also your horizontal axis. We don't have x and y, so please do not label x and y. Horizontal axis, we have the marks. So let's go to midpoint first, then you can use ruler to guide you. Go to frequency 2, and then you put a dot there. All right, after you put a dot, you can put a cross if you want, but dot is better because when you draw the dot, the chances of the line passes through the dot is higher, isn't it? You can say the probability is higher than cross. So now I want you to label all the midpoint carefully. After you label, you need to connect the point with the ruler. Okay, make sure all the points are connected using the straight line. So if you really do carefully, I'm sure your frequency polygon will be very, very beautiful, right? So I'm giving you time to do. After you do, you need to present to me. Either you send it to me while the PowerPoint slide, you can share with me and then I can mark with you. Okay, so we have one point already, which is at the, okay, we should actually start with the, you can take the 37 minus out the 5, so you will get the 32, right, which is actually the midpoint with the 0 frequency. Don't forget you have to find one more midpoint with the 0 frequency for the beginning and for the last one. So you have plot all the point. 37 is 2, 42 is quite high, is 9, and then we have the peak, which is at the 10, which is 45 to 49, and then we have 50 to 54 going down, and then 60 to 64 is 4, and 65 to 69 we have 2. So we need to connect all the points using ruler. So no freehand is allowed for frequency polygon. So basically they will ask you to solve some simple question, okay, concerning the frequency polygon. Alright, so normally they will ask you more than 49 will be students who are passed. So you go to the marks there and then try to find 49. So meaning that those dot that is lies on the more than 49 that I'm going to highlight using the yellow color, you can say that they actually are more than 49 are considered pass. So we can actually add up all the number of the students who pass the exam. Okay, so let's highlight the but there are points on the cumulative frequency polygon. So you just take all the points that lies in yellow region. So we have all the frequency. We just add up all the frequency to answer the question, whereby how many of them actually more than 49. Alright, so based on the frequency table, we can say that the student who score more than 49 will be 6 plus 7 plus the 4 plus the 2. So we have total 19 students who actually benefit from the frequency polygons. So that's all my sharing about how to draw the frequency polygon. I hope you will draw a nice and beautiful frequency polygon. So I'm sure you can do it. So from the axis that you draw on the frequency polygon, you can just mark as x equal to 49. So to the right is more than 49 and to the left is less than 49. So if let's say the passing mark must be more than 49, so you can count the number of the student who is more than 49. So the answer is 19 students, right? So that's all my sharing about how to draw frequency polygon. Okay then, bye bye and have a nice day. Here I am where the movie started.
photo they've taken. Space tree flying through the skies, and petals happen everywhere. I don't need any hero to save me. I don't know why the kids always crying. I've been thinking about all the captains that we left in the wasted planet. I thought I had it all together, but I'm waking up sad. You don't need to show your fucking love anymore to them. Can you feel the spark in city light when you stay tonight? That's the sparkles from my body, alright.